It was late evening when the cold wind brushed against the glass doors of the city pharmacy, and Emily stepped inside carrying her little daughter Lily, who was burning with fever, her tiny face flushed and her breathing shallow, the kind of sound that pierced a mother's heart with fear, and Emily's hands trembled as she clutched the prescription given by the doctor earlier that day, whispering silent prayers that somehow she would manage to buy the medicine her little girl needed, even though she knew the truth in her heart, that the crumpled bills and few coins in her wallet would not be enough. But as a single mother who had been abandoned by her husband 2 years earlier and left to face the harshness of life alone, she had learned to at least try, to never stop hoping, to never let despair be the only voice in her mind. So she stood in line, her daughter's soft whimpers echoing in her ears, her eyes darting nervously at the shelves filled with colorful boxes of medicine that seemed so close and yet so impossibly far from her reach. And when at last it was her turn, she slid the prescription across the counter, her lips dry as she whispered, "Please, I need this for my daughter," and the pharmacist, a kind-looking woman in a white coat, nodded sympathetically before turning away to collect the medicine, and in those few seconds Emily's heart pounded like a drum, because she knew what was coming next, the price, the amount she could not afford. And when the woman returned, placing the box gently on the counter and saying, "That will be $86, Emily felt her breath hitch, her vision blur as shame and fear wrapped around her like chains, and with trembling fingers she opened her wallet, pouring the coins and small bills onto the counter, counting them desperately, praying they might somehow add up, but even before she finished she knew they did not, she knew she was short, and the realization brought a tear sliding down her cheek as she whispered, "I'm sorry. I don't have enough, please, is there any way I can take it now and pay later?" But the pharmacist, though sympathetic, shook her head gently, bound by rules and company policy, and Emily clutched Lily tighter, feeling utterly helpless, her mind racing back to every sacrifice she had made since her husband walked out. The nights she went hungry so Lily could eat, the long hours she worked as a waitress, the second-hand clothes she wore while saving the better ones for her daughter, and now here she was, face to face with the brutal truth that sometimes love alone could not buy medicine, sometimes strength was not enough to overcome life's cruelty, and as she lowered her head in defeat, ready to walk away with empty hands, she heard a voice behind her, calm, deep, and warm, saying words she never expected to hear, "Charge it to me." For a moment she thought she had imagined it, that her desperation had conjured an angelic voice in her mind, but when she turned, her tear-streaked eyes met the gaze of a tall man in a dark suit, his presence commanding yet gentle, his eyes filled not with pity but with quiet strength, and in his hand he held a credit card he was already passing to the pharmacist, who looked equally surprised as she asked, "Are you sure, sir?" And the man simply nodded, saying again, "Charge it to me," and Emily stood frozen, clutching Lily to her chest, unable to process what was happening, her heart swelling with gratitude but also confusion. Why would a stranger step in at such a moment? Why would someone who clearly looked like he belonged to a world far above hers care about her struggles? And yet the reality was undeniable. The medicine was being bagged, the payment approved, and her daughter's chance at healing secured, all because of the kindness of a man she had never met, and as she tried to speak, her voice broke. I don't know how to thank you," but he simply offered a small smile, his gaze softening as he looked at Lily, saying, "You don't need to thank me, just take care of your daughter," and those words, simple as they were, etched themselves into her soul, for in them she heard something she had not felt in so long, hope, the reminder that kindness still existed in a world that had given her so much pain, and as the men turned to leave, she found herself calling out, "Wait, please, who are you?" And he paused, his silhouette framed against the bright lights of the pharmacy, and replied gently, "Just someone who believes no child should suffer because of money," before walking away into the night, leaving Emily standing there with tears streaming down her face, clutching the bag with the medicine that could save her daughter, her heart pounding with a strange new feeling. Not just gratitude, but curiosity, even destiny, for she knew in that moment their paths had crossed for a reason she did not yet understand but which she felt deep inside would change her life forever. And as she held Lily close, whispering softly, "You'll be okay now, sweetheart," she realized that this was not the end of her struggle but perhaps the beginning of a new chapter, one where unexpected kindness could light the darkest nights. And for everyone listening to this story, remember, life can be cruel, but it can also surprise you in ways you never imagined, so never give up hope, because sometimes miracles walk into your life when you least expect them. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, because the next part of Emily's journey will show just how far one act of kindness can go in changing not just her life, but the lives of those around her.